More than half a century ago, Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West redefined the Western genre with its sweeping cinematography, unforgettable characters, and Ennio Morricone's legendary score. Starring icons like Henry Fonda, Charles Bronson, Claudia Cardinale, and Jason Robards, the film became a timeless classic. But what happened to the stars who brought this masterpiece to life? Some continued to shine in Hollywood, while others faced personal struggles or left us too soon. Now, in 2025, we take a look at where they are today and how their legacies live on. Henry Fonda, who took on the role of the ruthless Frank in Once Upon a Time in the West at 63, played one of the most iconic villains in film history, a cold-blooded figure whose calculated nature made him unforgettable. Yet, in stark contrast to the detached villain he portrayed on screen, Fonda's real life was a complicated web of personal tragedies. His 5 marriages were marked by emotional pain and separation, with his first wife, actress Margaret Sullivan, enduring a difficult relationship that ended in divorce. His relationships with his children, particularly with his daughter Jane, were fraught with tension, resulting in estrangement and years of unresolved issues. Fonda's professional career spanned decades, but his personal life was overshadowed by deep emotional scars and an inability to find lasting happiness in love. Despite his career success, his personal life remained turbulent, and he passed away in 1982 at 77 from heart disease.
So nobody followed you?
No, you gotta believe me.
So this is the way I can trust you?
I can explain.
Charles Bronson, who played the mysterious harmonica in Once Upon a Time in the West at 47, embodied a man whose silence and strength masked a deep emotional core. Bronson's own life mirrored the hardships of his iconic characters, with a career that began in obscurity and slowly evolved into lasting fame. His first marriage ended in divorce, but his second marriage to actress Jill Ireland appeared to offer a sense of stability. However, their life together was marked by tragedy when Jill was diagnosed with cancer, a battle that ultimately claimed her life in 1990. Bronson, devastated by her death, found it difficult to recover, and his later years were marked by profound grief and solitude. Despite his continued success in films like Death Wish and The Magnificent Seven, Bronson's personal life was forever scarred by the loss of his beloved wife. He passed away on August 30th, 2003 at the age of 81 from pneumonia.
That surprised you?
Yeah. Well, you know music.
Paolo Stoppa, who played Sam in Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, was 62 years old when he took on the role of this minor yet memorable character. Stoppa's career in theater and film was vast, yet his personal life was marked by tragedy. His first marriage to actress Vanna Blengini ended bitterly, and he never fully recovered from the emotional scars. In his second marriage, Stoppa endured the devastating loss of a child, which deeply affected his mental and emotional well-being. This personal grief overshadowed his professional accomplishments, and in his later years, Stoppa faced health struggles as leukemia took its toll on his body. He passed away on May 1, 1988, at 81, after battling the disease for some time. Despite his career accolades, his personal life was one of immense loss and emotional turmoil, a stark contrast to the warm and engaging characters he played on screen.
We're at McBain's farm.
McBain? Yeah, sure. That stubborn, red-headed Irishman.
Jason Robards, who portrayed the charming yet troubled Cheyenne in Once Upon a Time in the West at 46, captured the essence of a man torn between his past and his desire for redemption. Robards' own life, however, was marked by profound personal tragedy. He married the renowned actress Lauren Bacall in 1961, but their relationship ended in divorce in 1969, leaving him heartbroken and grappling with emotional turmoil. Robards later married twice more, but his subsequent marriages did little to heal the deep emotional wounds that plagued him throughout his life. His battle with lung cancer in his later years further darkened his personal life, and the disease ultimately claimed his life in 2000 at the age of 78. While Robards enjoyed a successful career with roles in All the President's Men and Magnolia, his personal life was overshadowed by failed relationships and the haunting specter of loneliness.
But you're too smart to make him mad.
Gabriele Ferzetti, who portrayed the ambitious Morton in Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, was 43 years old when he took on the role of the frail yet ruthless railroad baron. Despite his success in Italian cinema, Ferzetti's personal life was plagued by heartache and instability. His first marriage to actress Angela Finocchiaro ended in divorce, and his second marriage to Michela Pignatelli, though initially filled with promise, also unraveled due to his increasing emotional distance and obsession with work. Ferzetti was a father of two, but his relationships with his children were strained due to his neglect. His later years were marked by declining health, and he passed away on December 2, 2015, at 90, after suffering from several strokes. His death, while acknowledging his professional achievements, was a tragic end to a life filled with emotional isolation and unfulfilled personal connections.
You were told not to come here for any reason. Whatever business you have with Frank, keep it far away from here.
Yes,
Jack Elam, who played the sinister Snakey in Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, was 48 years old when he took on the role of the unpredictable and menacing villain. Elam's career in westerns was extensive, yet his personal life was a series of tumultuous relationships and emotional battles. His first marriage ended in betrayal, and his second wife's sudden death left him devastated. Struggling with alcoholism, Elam's personal demons affected his relationships, and he was estranged from his children. His later years were marred by health issues, including a stroke, and his career slowly faded into obscurity. Elam passed away on October 20, 2003, at 82, from heart failure, a tragic end to a life filled with inner torment and regrets. Despite his iconic status as a villain, Elam's real life mirrored the darkness of his screen roles, filled with personal suffering and a sense of profound loss. Woody Strode, who played the loyal yet intimidating Stoney in Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, was 54 years old when he joined the film. Strode's physical presence and commanding roles in westerns made him a star, but his personal life was filled with sorrow. His first marriage ended in a painful betrayal, and his second marriage to Luvina was marred by infidelities on both sides. The most heartbreaking tragedy of Strode's life came with the death of his young son in an accident, a loss that haunted him for years. His career, though successful, was overshadowed by the emotional scars from his personal struggles. Strode passed away on December 31, 1994, at 80, after a long battle with cancer. His death was a quiet one, symbolizing a life full of strength on screen but marked by deep personal sorrow and the weight of grief. Frank Wolff played Brett McBain in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 40, portraying an ambitious man whose dreams were cut short by brutal violence. In real life, his career followed a similar tragic arc. After struggling in Hollywood, he moved to Italy in search of better opportunities. Initially successful in European cinema, he soon found himself trapped in declining roles as the spaghetti western genre faded. Deeply frustrated and unable to regain his footing, he fell into a deep depression. His personal life was equally bleak. Though he married, he had no children and felt increasingly isolated. Facing professional failure and emotional despair, he took his own life on December 12, 1971, at the age of 43, in a Rome hotel room, slashing his wrists in a desperate final act. His tragic end was barely acknowledged in the industry, his once promising career reduced to a footnote in film history.
Hey, just a minute. Listen, Pa, how am I going to recognize her?
Oh, you can't make no mistake, Patrick. She's young and she's pretty and
Keenan Wynn played the sheriff in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 52, portraying a strict and authoritative figure maintaining order in a lawless world. Despite appearing in over 200 films, he was often cast in supporting roles, never achieving true stardom. Born into a showbiz family, he struggled with the pressure of living in his father's shadow. His personal life was deeply troubled. His first wife, Eve Lynn Abbott, left him for his close friend Van Johnson, a betrayal that haunted him for years. His subsequent marriages were unstable, and he had a strained relationship with his children. Financial mismanagement forced him to take on countless minor roles to survive, and his heavy smoking and drinking further deteriorated his health. In his later years, he suffered from severe illness and mounting debts, eventually succumbing to pancreatic cancer on October 14, 1986, at the age of 70, dying in relative obscurity. A forgotten figure in the industry, he had served tirelessly.
120 acres. It's free of all encumbrances, liens, and mortgages. This property and all it contains, lock, stock.
Lionel Stander played the barman in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 60, bringing a gruff but charismatic presence to the role. His real-life struggles were far more dramatic. Once a promising Hollywood actor, his career was destroyed when he was blacklisted during the McCarthy era for his leftist political views. Forced to leave the U.S., he spent years in Europe, taking any role he could to survive. His personal life was equally chaotic, marked by 6 failed marriages and strained relationships with his children. Though he made a small comeback in later years, the emotional and financial toll of his lost career left lasting scars. He spent his final years in declining health, suffering from lung cancer caused by decades of heavy smoking. On November 30, 1994, at the age of 86, he passed away, having fought battles both on and off the screen, only to be largely forgotten by the industry that once cast him aside.
What can I do for you, man?
I would like some water, if it's no trouble.
Water? Well, you see, that word is...
Frank Brana, who portrayed a member of Frank's gang smoking pipe at auction in Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, was 34 years old when he became part of the iconic film. His character, contributing to the menacing aura of Frank's gang, helped cement the film's dark, dangerous atmosphere. While Brana was skilled at portraying villains, his career was marred by limited success, often relegated to supporting roles that didn't allow his talent to shine through. In his personal life, Brana faced difficulties with relationships, including a marriage that ended in divorce, leaving him with a sense of profound loneliness. His later years were plagued by health issues, and he ultimately succumbed to respiratory failure on February 13, 2012, at the age of 77. His death reflected the quiet tragedy of an actor whose career never reached its true potential, leaving behind a legacy of underappreciated talent.
Well, who's going to bid $300? Now look.
Aldo Berti, who portrayed a member of Frank's gang playing poker in Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, was 32 years old when he took on the role. His character, one of Frank's many henchmen, contributed to the gritty atmosphere of the film but remained a largely forgettable figure. In real life, Berti's career was overshadowed by minor roles in various films and television shows. His personal life mirrored the tragedies of his characters, marked by 2 failed marriages, both of which ended in divorce. Despite having a son, their relationship was strained, and Berti struggled with a sense of isolation. In his later years, Berti was diagnosed with a brain tumor, which gradually deteriorated his health. He passed away on December 26, 2010, at the age of 74, his death a quiet and painful end to a life filled with unrealized potential and personal sorrow. Don Galloway played a member of Frank's gang in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 31. Though his role was minor, his character contributed to the gang's ominous presence, adding to the film's sense of danger. Galloway found more success on television, particularly as Sergeant Ed Brown in Ironside, but despite this recognition, his career never reached the heights he had hoped for. He struggled with typecasting and was often overlooked for major film roles. Personally, his life was marked by heartbreak. He married twice, first to Linda Marie Galloway and later to Linda Bach, but both marriages ended in divorce, leaving him emotionally drained. He had 2 daughters, Tracy and Jennifer, but his career kept him away from them, leading to a strained relationship. As the years passed and roles became scarce, Galloway battled financial difficulties and depression, feeling forgotten by an industry that had once embraced him. By the early 2000s, he had faded into obscurity, spending his last years in quiet solitude. On January 8, 2009, he suffered a stroke and passed away at the age of 71.
Has your own role changed perceptibly in the years that you've been doing Ironside?
Well, this is our 3rd year coming up. I don't think...
Antonio Molino Rojo played one of Frank's men at the auction in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 42. A recognizable face in spaghetti westerns, he appeared in over 100 films but was always relegated to minor roles, never achieving true fame. His career mirrored the fate of many character actors, always present, yet never in the spotlight. As the popularity of westerns declined, so did his opportunities, leaving him struggling to find work. His personal life was no less difficult. His marriage was plagued by financial strain and rumors of infidelity, leading to an eventual separation. He had 1 son, Alejandro, but their relationship was distant as Molino Rojo prioritized work over family, only to be left without either in his later years. Forgotten by the industry, he lived out his final years in quiet obscurity. He passed away on November 2, 2011, at the age of 85.
Mortgages. This property and all it contains, lock, stock, and barrel, will be turned over to the lucky purchaser.
Benito Stefanelli portrayed Frank's lieutenant in 1968 at the age of 40, embodying a ruthless, unquestioning enforcer devoted to his brutal leader. Off-screen, he became a renowned stunt coordinator and weapons expert, working closely with directors like Sergio Leone, but he was never given the spotlight he deserved. Despite his contributions to the genre, he remained in the shadows, a nameless figure behind iconic action sequences. His personal life was equally troubled. His marriage to actress Giovanna Raleigh collapsed due to his prolonged absences and unfaithfulness. Their daughter, Lucia, severed ties with him, blaming him for his cold, authoritarian parenting. As the demand for spaghetti westerns faded, so did his career, leaving him financially unstable. He turned to alcohol and heavy smoking, which eventually led to lung cancer. His final years were marked by illness, loneliness, and regret. He passed away on December 18, 1999, at 71. Fabio Testi played the member of Frank's gang with a black hat at the auction in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 27. His character, though minor, added to the film's oppressive atmosphere, embodying the silent, looming threat of Frank's merciless gang. Testi found early success in Italian cinema, starring in The Garden of the Finzi-Continis, 1970, and Revolver, 1973, but his attempts to break into Hollywood were met with rejection. Often typecast in action and crime films, his career stagnated, and he never achieved the international recognition he longed for. His personal life was equally unstable. After high-profile relationships with Ursula Andress and Charlotte Rampling, he married Lola Navarro, with whom he had 3 children. Their marriage ended in a bitter divorce, and Testi became estranged from his son, Fabio Jr., whose repeated legal troubles brought him shame. Now, in 2025, at 83 years old, he lives a reclusive life, far from the glamour he once knew. Renato Pinciroli, at 63, took on the small but memorable role of the first bidder at the auction in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968. His character was an eager but powerless figure, representing the everyday men who found themselves swept up in the corruption and brutality of the Old West. His career, largely confined to character roles in Italian cinema, was never glamorous. He was frequently overlooked, forever cast as minor, forgettable figures in the background. His personal life was similarly tragic. He married late, only to lose his wife to illness after just a few short years together. They had no children, leaving him to face the rest of his life alone. Pinciroli suffered from depression in his final years, exacerbated by financial struggles and the realization that he had never been truly recognized for his work. He died on September 2, 1976, at the age of 71, in near obscurity, his passing barely making the news, much like his long and uncelebrated career.
All right, now who's going to make the first bid?
$200.
Well, I have an open.
Claudio Mancini played Harmonica's brother in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 40. Though his role was brief, his character's cruel death became a defining moment in the film, setting Harmonica on his lifelong path of vengeance. Mancini worked mainly as a production manager, contributing to films like Once Upon a Time in America, 1984, but he always longed to be recognized as an actor. That recognition never came, leaving him with deep frustration and a sense of failure. His personal life was equally tragic. His first wife left him for another man, taking their daughter, Martina, whom he would not reconnect with until his final years. His second marriage, filled with resentment and infidelity, ended in divorce. He struggled with severe diabetes and heart problems, spending his last years in declining health and isolation. He passed away on June 28, 2024, at the age of 96. Claudia Cardinale, who portrayed Jill McBain in Once Upon a Time in the West at the age of 30 in 1968, was a captivating presence on screen, bringing to life a character who epitomized strength, resilience, and grace in the face of adversity. In her personal life, however, Cardinale experienced deep emotional struggles. She married director Pasquale Squitieri in 1975, and they had one daughter, Claudia. Their marriage, however, ended in separation, and Cardinale found herself navigating the challenges of single motherhood. As the years went on, her career slowed, and she felt increasingly alienated from the Hollywood scene that once celebrated her. Despite her early success in films such as The Leopard and 8 and a Half, her later roles failed to replicate that level of acclaim, leaving her to reflect on a career and personal life marked by both professional triumphs and private sorrow. Now at 86, Cardinale has embraced semi-retirement, living quietly while reflecting on a career that never fully lived up to its potential due to the emotional cost of her personal life.
Forget it. I don't invest in land.
You don't look at all like the noble defender of poor defense.
Conrado San Martin played Vicino in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 47, portraying a tough, world-weary local who added authenticity to the film's gritty Western setting. Despite a long career in Spanish cinema, he struggled with typecasting, never achieving the international recognition he desired. Though he appeared in over 150 films, he was often overlooked for major roles, leaving him frustrated and financially unstable. His marriage to actress Carmen Lozano was troubled, marked by long periods of separation and infidelity. Their only son, Miguel Angel, became estranged from him, resenting his father's emotional absence. As spaghetti westerns declined, his work offers dwindled, and arthritis made even simple movements painful, forcing him into isolation. In his final years, he was largely forgotten by the industry he had devoted his life to. On April 24, 2019, he died of a heart attack at 98, alone in his Madrid home. Salvatore Basile played a member of Cheyenne's gang in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 28, blending into the rugged world of outlaws. Unlike his co-stars, his name never gained recognition, and his career quickly faded after a series of minor roles in Italian cinema. Unable to secure steady work, he lived in financial hardship, struggling to support himself. His personal life was no better. Never marrying or having children, he spent decades in solitude, eventually turning to alcohol for comfort. As the years passed, he became a forgotten relic of a bygone era, with no family or fortune to sustain him. Now, in 2025, at the age of 84, he lives in obscurity, barely surviving on a small pension. His days spent reminiscing about the fleeting moment when he stood beside legends in one of cinema's greatest westerns. Robert Hossein played a member of Frank's gang in a flashback in Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 at the age of 41. While his role was small, his intense screen presence added to the film's brooding atmosphere. Hossein had a prolific career as both an actor and director, but his journey was filled with struggles. Despite directing ambitious films, many were overlooked, leaving him frustrated with the industry's indifference. He longed for artistic recognition but was often met with commercial failure. His personal life was equally turbulent. He married 3 times, first to actress Marina Vladi, then to writer Caroline Ilyachev, and finally to Candice Patou. Yet none of these relationships brought lasting happiness. He had 2 children but found it difficult to maintain close family ties. As time passed, he became increasingly disillusioned, watching his influence in cinema fade. His final years were marked by isolation and regret. On December 31, 2020, at the age of 93, he succumbed to complications from COVID-19. Simonetta Stefanelli was just 14 when she played Maureen McBain in 1968, portraying a young girl navigating a violent and unforgiving world. Though her role was small, she later gained international fame as Apollonia in The Godfather, 1972. However, instead of leading to a flourishing career, Hollywood proved to be a harsh and exploitative place. She faced relentless harassment and was pressured into roles that sexualized her, leading her to withdraw from the industry. She married director Michel Placido in 1989, but their relationship was tumultuous and ended in a painful divorce. They had 3 children, including actress Violante Placido, but Simonetta became increasingly reclusive. Attempting to find a new path, she opened a boutique in Rome, but financial struggles plagued her business. Over the years, she suffered from chronic migraines, anxiety, and deep depression, isolating herself from the public eye. Now, in 2025, at the age of 70, she lives in quiet seclusion. Who is your favorite character from Once Upon a Time in the West? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.